thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Hey yo, welcome to the Review It Rob show. I am your host, Review It Rob, coming to you with all kinds of fun movie realm goodies to talk about this week. As you've seen from the trailer, the film we'll be talking about is The Exorcist Believer, the newest entry in the Exorcist franchise. I'll give you my spoiler-free thoughts on that film. As I saw it over the weekend, it is freshly out and new and out there for the world to get possessed by. But that's what the show is. The show is goofy as can be, and we got weird puns and all that fun stuff, man. Thank you for joining along for the nonsense. Do me a favor, hit that like, right? But we're going to be talking about that spoiler-free as well. Every single episode of the Review It Rob show has mandatory horror and DC news, so all kinds of fun little goodies going on there. Maybe I'll give a little quick thoughts on some other things that I've watched, because I am doing the 31 Days of Horror, or Halloween, however you want to go with it. I've been watching some things over there, and I might talk about that pretty quickly. But yes, not bury the lead any further. Let's jump into the review of The Exorcist Believer. The film is rated R for language, disturbing images, sexual references, and some violent content, so falls in line with the first Exorcist film. The movie is a horror mystery thriller, the trifecta of awesome, and it runs in at 1 hour and 51 minutes. The film is currently only in theaters. Angela and her friend Catherine disappear in the woods, only to return 3 days later with no memory of what happened to them, which unleashes a chain of events, and we're going to stop it from there. If you've seen the trailer, you've got a pretty good idea of what's going on here. If you've seen the other Exorcist film, which is the one Exorcist. Well, there's several Exorcist films, but this movie is a direct sequel to The Exorcist, and we're going to go from there with this. Again, spoiler-free thoughts on this. I will not touch on anything that happens in the film that would give away the movie itself, right? Only quick little things to talk about based on, feelings and all that stuff. Not spoiling movies, because I don't like to spoil movies. But yeah, The Exorcist Believer is a film that I was pretty interested in going into. Wait, gotta do the critic scores, right? So Rotten Tomato critic score is 22%, while the audience is sitting at a 58%. 22, I believe that actually went up. I'm not sure. It's been fluctuating as the film is new, and it's changing as the days go by, but the audience score is at a 58%, while IMDb has pretty much a halfway point, 5.2 out of 10. So what are my thoughts on the film itself? So, The Exorcist, if you did not know, if you're new to the show, The Exorcist, the original film, is one of my all-time favorite horror films. Probably all-time favorite movies. Love what they did. It was a different time. It was a classic feel. It's awesome, and it kind of did what film-wise what Jaws did. It made it very, very hard for the films coming after it to follow some kind of same genre. It's hard to do a movie about a shark attack now because of how great Jaws was. It's hard to do an exorcism film because of how great The Exorcist was, right? That first film is very well known as one of the greatest horror films of all time in a lot of people's opinions, right? And all this stuff is, of course, very opinionated with all movies across the realm of film, obviously. But, going into The Exorcist Believer, my thoughts have changed several times throughout. Well, when the movie was first announced, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, it's David Gordon Green doing it. Let's see how this, all ends up working out, because, he, took on the Halloween franchise, which in itself is a classic horror, film and franchise, very well beloved franchise. And that was going to be a direct sequel to the original Halloween film, much like we had here, right? And that movie did very well. That Halloween did very, very, very well. But kills and even more so ends were not met with the best of reviews from some people. Some people really love the movies. Some people don't enjoy the movies. It's just the way it works. So, going into all that, going into The Exorcist Believer and everything. So when this was first announced that this was going to happen, I was like, okay, it's a tough ask, right? Again, exorcism films are tough to do. We've got so many of them now because at the time when The Exorcist came out, it was such a new, like, fresh, kind of scary thing. Like, we're talking about this movie, they were giving warnings to people about seeing it. There's people throwing up in the theaters from seeing it because it was so scary and just diabolical and the devil and demons and all that stuff, right? What a different time, man. I've always said that I would love to travel back in time. Like that question you get, if you can go back to time, where would you want to go? I would like to go back in that time where horror films were just so fresh and new and just scary as all get out, and people didn't know what to expect when going into them and all that stuff. Like such a different time from now, where we've had countless amounts of exorcism films. Hell, we've had one, probably had several this year, but one that I know of for sure was The Pope's Exorcist, which came out earlier this year. Which you can check out my thoughts on that. I reviewed that earlier this year when I saw that. So it's a different world that we live in now as far as exorcism films go. Hell, we've had several Exorcist sequels. We even had a really good show on Fox that followed The Exorcist as well. So um, tough slate to be going into here with this movie. Now, as we get closer to the film coming out itself, and finally got those first looks and everything, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be really cool. Can't wait to check this movie out. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm enjoying the views that we're getting. I'm enjoying the imagery we're getting. We're the callbacks to the original with the whole mother thing and I Know Who You Are stuff when they brought Chris McNeil back in, who was the original character from the, of course, first film played by Alan Bernstein. So all that stuff was really cool as somebody who loved The Exorcist first film. Going into this one, then of course, before seeing this movie, I got to experience the haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. Um, Without the movie, Halloween Horror Nights started before the movie came out, so that was like a trailer walkthrough, but still scenes of the movie that were in there, and just hyped up my want for the movie even more. So let's jump into my thoughts of the film itself. So going into it, I've seen all of these reviews saying it is a terrible film, that is doing this, it's doing that, that they hated what they did here, they hated what they did there, which again, all opinions. People are entitled to their own reviews and thoughts on films. It's all cool, it's all great. Me personally, I enjoyed what they did with the movie. Like, the movie fits very well to me after that first Exorcist film. Like, it follows I would say a 100% trend from the first movie because, you don't want to do that, but it hits it enough, just like Halloween 2018 did. It hits enough of the same vibe of the first film that you're like, okay, I can see how this connects and all that stuff, other than just, legacy characters like, Laurie Strode in Halloween, or Chris McNeil again for the Exorcist film here in The Believer. But I like how it works, and it's not a horror film. Again, it's kind of like the first Exorcist movie. It's not a movie where things are snapping and happening quick. It's not a slasher film, right? And that's not a dig at slasher films. I love me some slasher films. I like the gore and guts and violence and all that stuff right off the rip, and you don't have to have like a all that compelling of a story going on or anything like that with a slasher film. But this is different. This is an exorcism film, and you've got to take time to build up to the inevitable and what's going to happen here, and seeing the events of everything transpiring from start to finish. And that's how this movie is. There's a starting point of the movie, which of course is the start of the movie, and all of what happens in there affects things as they go forward in the film itself. And I enjoy that. Like, I'm not one of those people who needs a quick paced movie, especially in horror. Like, I'm fine with it building and the anticipation building and the story being, stretched out, and, you know, points filled in to where you get to that point. Because again, if we're doing an exorcism movie, we've got to feel a personal connection with our characters, right? We've got to get to know these characters and the struggles that they're going to go through throughout the film. Like, we've got to get introduced to them. We have to, feel the pain again. And when you're doing a horror movie and you have kids involved in it, the first movie was just one, child, Reagan. This movie, we have two. We have Angela and Catherine that are going to be the ones that end up getting possessed, obviously. If you saw the trailer, that is not a spoiler. So we're going to have to deal with those two. And we're going to have to deal with the parents of both kids and how they're going to interact with each other. Because do they know each other? Don't they know each other? How are they going to interact with the fact that their two kids disappeared into the woods for 3 days. They come back, and do they know each other? How are they going to interact with each other? How are they going to be able to face this challenge together? It's stuff like that. Like that stuff is why I enjoyed this movie from start to finish, because it's all of its building together and all that stuff. Now, the exorcism films deal with religion, and there's several different, religions going on in the movie, which I think is perfectly fine. I don't think it has to stick singularly to like one religion or anything like that. It's cool to see, because obviously we live in this world where we know that there are several different religions in the world, and all of them have their own thing going on, and seeing how it can all vibe and work together, possibly to try to save these kids in the film, is an interesting idea to take on, and thought it was fine the way they did it, right? The horror aspects of the film, and the connections to the regular film, the first film, they're close. They're close in reference. They're close in, disturbingness and quick screens and jump scares and all that stuff. Like, I think the scaring aspect of it, again, this is a demon possession film, so the kids and how they're going to act as being possessed by a demon is, depending on the abilities of said performers, right? And of course, we don't want to overly judge kids because they're kids, right? Like there's no reason we should ever overly attack a kid for their performance. But what I will say is that both kids, Angela and Catherine, are fantastic in this movie. They do a perfect job displaying the agony, the anguish, the torment, the despair of what they're going through, as the movie progresses, because it's a building thing, right? And that's my main thing to kind of tell you about with this movie is if you're somebody who needs something extremely quick paced, this is not the movie for you. Like this is going to take its time, as it should, to build the story, build the drama, build the scare factor, build the um, anticipation to see how this can get resolved, or if it will get resolved, to what is going to happen, right? And we already know that this is a trilogy of films, and how is this going to, lend into the next movie, and where we go here, where we go there. It's all, an interesting, concept. And again, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the movie from start to finish. Like, it's one of those movies that I will gladly watch again. Like, I thought what they did, what he took on with this movie, the being David Gordon Green, was a heck of a challenge, and I think he delivered, much like he did with that first Halloween movie. Like, I think he did exactly what he needed to do. I don't believe in, saying whether a movie is perfect or not. Who freaking cares? Is it enjoyable or not? Is the real question. And to me, it is an enjoyable film, um, especially for somebody who loves that first Exorcist movie. Um, as far as our legacy character coming back, Ellen Bernstein, I thought what they did with her was fine. I actually thought it was good. I like what they did with her. I like how her experiences with everything that happened with Reagan in the first movie has built her character for this movie. And now we're going to go from that point, and what she's going to do with the movie, I thought was handled fine. Um, Handled good. Leslie Odom Jr., who is Angela's father, does a fantastic job. Jennifer Nettles, it is Jennifer Nettles. I thought that was her. She's the mom for Catherine. She is great. Everybody in the movie's great. Like, I don't have a bad note on cast at all in the movie. Um, Again, I think it fits perfectly fine as far as the connection to the first movie goes. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, I can't sit here and, like, I don't know why people have disliked this movie. I've heard this reason or that reason, and, without going into spoilers, I can't really say what they're saying, but I don't agree with them, which is, again, fine. We all have our opinions, right? The thing that is taking me back, and I saw this movie with my brother, and I asked him because I know I can, trust his thoughts on things. A lot of people are saying the movie's anti-abortion, which I never picked up on at all watching this movie. I don't know why they got that idea. Like, I think people just hear something and then immediately attack it without paying attention to the actual um, creation and the actual things that are being said in the movie. It is definitely not an anti-abortion movie, for sure. I honestly think And I brought up my brother because, like I said, we saw the movie together. Yeah, he didn't pick up on that either. Like, he didn't catch it at all. He doesn't understand that one either. So, not just me. Um, and a lot. I've seen other people say it as well on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. Like, they don't understand why people have picked up on that aspect. But again, people are going to hate, and I think that's one of the reasons we've got some bad reviews for the movie as well. I think that there is I've seen it as well, so it's not just a think process. I know that a lot of people are not happy with David Gordon Green, especially after Halloween ends. So I want to say there's a lingering dislike from that movie that is built over to this movie, especially how fresh it is. What Halloween Ends was last year, right? Halloween Ends wasn't. I feel like I talked about this last week as well. Halloween Ends was last year, so that's still fresh on people's minds. And of course, now we're in the month of October, and people are doing the Halloween franchise dig, and whether or not they're going to watch that movie has come up several times. So I honestly do think there is a lingering, carryover from Halloween Ends, and we can even go back to Kills. There's people that didn't like that movie either. Um, that I think is unfairly being thrown on this movie because of the David Gordon Green connection. Again, right or wrong, we'll see. But that's my personal opinion on the hate that I'm seeing towards the movie, and that's one of my things that I enjoy is seeing people saying that they've seen this movie and they don't understand why people are hating it because they enjoyed it as well. Um, so again, aggravation sites like Rotten Tomatoes, who have their own critic scores and all this, like they gave the first Exorcist movie like a 75 or something like that. Like, come on, it's worldly regarded as one of the greatest horror films to be ever created, and they gave it a 75. Which again, their opinions, but kind of let you know what I'm talking about. And that's why, again, I've said it on several episodes, and I'll say it on many episodes. 'Cause I don't know who's new to the show or not. Um, those ratings and all that stuff I give on the show to give you the idea that it's okay to have differing opinions. Like, there's always going to be differing opinions on things. Lord knows I love a lot of movies that people don't like, and that's fine. I'm still going to love and enjoy those films, and this is one of them. Exorcist Believer is a film I will gladly watch over and over again, whenever I get the chance, or on home video or whatever, because I enjoyed it. Like, I had no issue, no real big issues with the movie at all. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like, I like what they did. The horror aspect is perfectly fine. Like, all of it's good. The story is fine. Like, I can't hate on this movie. Like, I can't have a problem with it. Those worries I had at the beginning when it was first announced, I don't have anymore after seeing this. I love the whole body in the blood thing. I love my favorite thing about the movie, is God played a trick on you. I heard that in the trailer the first time. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I saw how it plays out in the movie. I'm like, yep, that's fantastic. I like that. So it's a solid film, man. Like, it's a solid film. If I can give you any positivity, yeah, see it. Like, go enjoy it. Like, again, it's a story build. Like, you're gonna have to give it time. It's an hour and 51 minutes. I'm trying to think if anything could be really cut out, but no, I don't think so. Like, I think what they did is perfectly fine, man. And again, I'll gladly watch this movie several times over. Like, this is a solid enough movie to me. So, there you go. Those are my spoiler-free thoughts on The Exorcist Believer. Go see it. And as Halloween Horror Nights is going on, if you get the chance, go to Halloween Horror Nights, have some fun with the house. Differences between the house and movie. Trying to think off the top of my head. It's been several weeks since I walked through that house, but that house was so awesome. Um, yeah, I'm not going into that. There's too much time to go into that. But I will say The Exorcist Believer was my second favorite house. I had a great time with it, and you already heard that as I was a guest on Hunter's podcast. If you haven't checked that out yet, check it out on Throw Me Podcast Network. Get the group together to talk our thoughts on Halloween Horror Nights, our Halloween Horror Nights trips, and rank the houses, man. So check that out on Throw Me Podcast Network, as well as all other awesome shows, my past episodes. We've got the Metal Groove Podcast. We got WBRO with Josh, Tombstone Josh, my brother, and I, doing some awesome stuff over there. And we have Spooktacular coming up, with Friday the 13th happening this week and everything, which is so freaking awesome. Love Friday the 13th. So good things to be had, to say the least. But man, I don't I don't understand it. Again, all entitled to our own opinions, but I enjoyed the movie. Like at the end of the day, I enjoyed it, and I will gladly watch it again. All right, let's see. Going from there, let's go ahead and jump into real quick some other things that I watched and enjoyed, and mainly being I've been doing the 31 nights of 31 days or whatever of horror slash Halloween movies. I watched one movie called My Grandpa's a Vampire. Terrible film. Like I will never tell somebody not to watch a movie, but I did not have a good time with that one. Best part about it was the grandpa was Grandpa from the Munsters. Not the same character, but the guy who played Grandpa in the Munsters. Um, and then the rest of the time has been watching Chucky season 2, catching up because Chucky season 3 has begun over on USA and Sci-Fi, and then hits Peacock the next day. And I caught up on that. Finally got to watch season 2, and just freaking, they are doing like the person I get told I look like a lot. Kevin Smith says the Lord's work over there. I freaking love everything they've done with Chucky and the connections, and just I think honestly, bias or not, that the Chucky franchise is easily one of the best put together franchises that has just continued to grow. And Seed of Chucky was a big speed bump that it hit, but still as the time's gone by, still a hilarious film, right? And but Curse of Chucky took it back to its horror roots, and then from there it's just been on this path of just keeping everything connected, and we've got the best story going, and just I love what they've done with that franchise. And it's easy to me that to say that Chucky's in the top 4 horror icons of all time. Like we can debate it as much as we want, but I think it's more than proven to be that Chucky's the best franchise, still going. Again, bias or not, take it how you want, but I mean, it's all there, right? It's there to see. But watch that. Love season 2, season 3. I will watch that episode ASAP. Because I was out of town over the weekend. My brother and I will talk about that on WBRO. But trying to think, was there anything else? I checked out WWE's premium live event. Fastlane took place, which throws me off because Fastlane used to be right before WrestleMania in there during WrestleMania times. Now moved, but solid enough event. I enjoyed all the matches. I think all of it was great. Did not like the finish to the Seth Rollins Shinsuke Nakamura match, but what can you do? I guess it's gonna have to be Gunther or maybe possibly CM Punk that finally beats Seth Rollins. But apparently Seth Rollins is invincible. It reminded me of Hell in the Cell when he fought the Fiend. Seth is just invincible sometimes, I guess. But nonetheless, let's get into movie stuff here. Kicking off with DC talk real quick because that's the less news. Aquaman 2 has officially been rated. This is the final film in the DCEU before things start over there in DC Comics films world with the DCU, but the DCEU final film Aquaman 2 is hitting theaters this December and has officially been rated PG-13 for sci-fi violence and some language. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll end up seeing it, and just whatever, whatever. The movie's probably fine, and I like the fact that it's going to be focusing on Aquaman and Ocean Master. But I don't want to see what's her face at all. But hopefully she won't be in the movie all that much. And from the synopsis of the movie and what the movie seems to be about, she shouldn't be in the movie all that much, thankfully. Other DC, going from DCEU news to DCU news. I know it's all confusing. It will be all cleared up soon once Aquaman's out and done. Superman Legacy update from James Gunn says that the filming will take place in several places. A lot of the shooting will be on sound stages in Atlanta, and the rest of the film will be in places all over the world. So the writer's strike, if you're in the the writer's strike is over. The actor's strike is still going on, so we're waiting to see how that all ends up going. But yeah, we're getting close to resuming things over here in the world to get stuff going. Superman Legacy will be the first film in the new DC Films world. Of course, the beginning is with Creatures Commando. Creature Commando. Such a fun name. Creature Commandos is next year. That's an animated dealio, but it is next year and will be the official start for the DCU. All right. Quick thoughts as well. Quick update. John Cena, during a press conference, was asked about the actor strike, which was a good and fair question. So he's asked what will happen once the actor strike is resolved, and he said they call me back and away from WWE. I've made it perfectly clear you can't do both because of liability insurance. If I were to try to juggle both, that would be incredibly selfish because I'd put a lot of people in the movie business out of work if something happened to me. So yes, I stopped a project in the middle of it. I can't even talk about the project because of the strike we're in, but we're in the middle of it. So as soon as we get back to work, we'll go back to work. But I don't control any of that. I'm crossing my fingers and hope we can find a resolve that everybody's happy with. For right now, I think that this is the best way I feel I can help to come back home to my family in WWE. So yeah, he's as we expected. That's why we got to see The Rock earlier this month. Was that long ago? A couple weeks ago, we saw The Rock back in WWE for a moment, and this is why we got to see Cena for the last couple weeks. And hope that he's scheduled for the next premium live event, Crown Jewel, next month. So, or is it next month? Probably next month. But yeah, as soon as that actor strike goes, he has to go back to Hollywood because he's in the middle of a project. And it's been great. I haven't seen it back. It's been awesome, but it's understandable. And I bring that up during DC News because, of course, he plays Peacemaker, and we don't know what the project was that he was filming, but maybe it was Peacemaker Season 2. Who knows? Maybe there's still... No, James is still writing that. So, no, probably not that, but nonetheless, kind of fits there. All right, jumping from there into the horror news. We kick it off with Blumhouse, who is the beast that keeps on growing over there in horror. They've always got something going down. And of course, The Exorcist Believer was a Blumhouse jammy jam. They have Five Nights at Freddy's hitting theaters and Peacock later this month. And they've just been everywhere, right? And they will continue to be everywhere. And they want to continue taking on horror franchises that people love, and they're kicking that rumor off with Blumhouse producer Ryan Truex saying Jason Blum and I are definitely in agreement that Friday the 13th is the thing we would love to get our hands on. I really want to go back to the basics. You don't need too many ingredients for a Friday the 13th film. You need summer camp, you need campers, and you need Jason Voorhees in a mask. Which, yeah, true. That was the end of the quote, which is true. The Friday the 13th has its formula, and it's a pretty easy formula to follow. And yeah, I think Blumhouse could probably do a good job with that. Again, they just took on The Exorcist. We'll see how that ends up going. But you heard my review. You know what I'm thinking. They took on the Halloween franchise. They've had other franchises like The Purge and all that stuff. So, why not? Why not? There's nothing going on film-wise right now that I know of for Friday the 13th. That side still seems to be pretty open. They haven't really announced anything there. We do know that there's a Friday the 13th TV series with original star Adrian King? King, yeah. Adrian King involved in that one, but movie side, seemingly wide open, right? So, who knows? Would you like to see Blumhouse take on Friday the 13th? Maybe, maybe not. They've done... trying to think of like teenager stuff they've done. Happy Death Day, right? And I'm sure there's other ones that just aren't hitting the top of my mind right now. But they've Blumhouse. However you feel about them, I know they seem to be in everything that has to do with horror. But that means they've done a pretty decent job, right? And some people call them hit or miss. And they seem to be hitting more than missing lately. Give or take. Of course, like I don't want to keep harping on the Halloween films, but those were their movies, and how people are feeling about Exorcist Believer. It's all things that are happening. But I'd be fine with it. Why not? Friday the 13th has been stale for a while, so it's time to get something going over there. We've got seemingly the law stuff figured out, or in a different place, or in a better place, so we shall see. Um, but as of now, we just know about the show and the energy drink, right? And I think you can still play the video game. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I can't remember. There was some news about that video game at some point in time, but I mean, you can still play it, right? I don't think there's any way you can't not still play the game. Okay, so quick Google search. You can still play the game, obviously, but they will be delisting the game December 31st, meaning that you can no longer be available for purchase in physical or digital formats. Um, so yeah, go ahead and get that game now if you want to play it. So yeah, go ahead and get that game, stock it, save it. At some point in time, you're probably going to want to check it out or play it. So go ahead and do that for sure before December 31st, because that game is being delisted because of stupid lawsuits and yada yadas. With that said, I think I saw something while Googling this that I want a little more. Oh, Harry Manfredini. Yeah, I touched on this on a previous episode. Harry Manfredini, Jesus. Harry Manfredini says they are working on a new Friday the 13th video game. Yeah, I talked about that on a previous episode. So yeah, there is stuff going on video game wise with Friday the 13th. Harry Manfredini, if you don't know, is the composer for the Friday the 13th franchise. And he's been asked about yada yada and working with the game and all that stuff. So yeah, there's stuff going on over there video game wise as well. So only thing we don't know about is film wise, and we shall see what ends up happening there. Other stuff happening in horror spooky realm involving classic franchises. Guillermo del Toro, you should love him, he's awesome, is doing his adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for Netflix and has an all-star cast going on, and talked a little bit about it at I think it was like a Pacific Rim con, or meet talk thing. But he said, quote, "I'm doing Frankenstein. We're working on it now. We started shooting in February, and it's a movie I have been wanting to do for 50 years since I saw the first Frankenstein. I had an epiphany, and it's basically a movie that required a lot of growth and a lot of tools that I couldn't have done 10 years ago. Now I'm brave or crazy or something, and we're going to tackle it. The cast has Oscar Isaac, Andrew freaking Garfield. I added the freaking, not Gilmo. Christopher Waltz, Mia Goth, and we're working on it." End quote. Yes, give me that right away. One, love Andrew Garfield, quite possibly. Not quite possibly. He is my favorite actor. Love everything that I've seen Andrew Garfield in. Oscar Isaac, awesome. Christopher Waltz, good. I say that because I don't know if I'm 100% up on everything Christopher Waltz. I know who he is. I've seen his stuff. Yeah, he's awesome too. Dude, I'm the worst with names. Just sitting here calling him Christopher. It's Christoph Waltz. But yeah, he's a talented actor as well. Inglourious Basterds, Django, freaking James Bond movies, Alita Battle Angel. Yeah, on and on and on and on. He's in it. Mia Goth, who is incredible actress. So yeah, what a freaking cast. And Guillermo, Guillermo del Toro. Um, Doing a Frankenstein movie. I mean, look it up. Go on YouTube and do like a house tour. He has this huge freaking Frankenstein head in his house. The dude loves Frankenstein. He's been in love with it. I just read his quote about Frankenstein. He is going to give so much love and passion to that project. That is just gonna be and freaking insanely awesome. Netflix. Does Netflix deserve it? Who knows? But a Netflix original movie that is awesome. I wish it would be in theaters because I think he's going to do such a fantastic job with it. But nonetheless, I can't wait to freaking see this. Love me some Universal Classic Monsters. Love me some Andrew Garfield. Love me some Mia Goth. Like, give me this ASAP. They started filming in February, so I don't know when I'm getting this, but give it to me as soon as possible. Let's see. Shoe Palace. You may know them. They released a Chucky clothing collection not too long ago, and now they're taking on two other horror franchises with A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. The collection will include T-shirts, hoodies, artwork, which includes images straight from the horror franchises. Clothing is available exclusively from Shoe Palace. Shoe Palace will also have Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street joggers, red and green Elm Street beanies, hoodies, like I mentioned before. So pretty much, easy wear that you can do Halloween costumes with, I guess. And Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees mask. There's a Jason Voorhees mask, all kinds of stuff going on over there. So if you want to check that out, it's Shoe Palace, ShoePalace, for Chucky, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th. Dealio's going on over there. Let's see. The Strangers trilogy that we know that is set to release sometime next year. We got our first taste of that via images, with some first look images happening over there. Director Rennie Harlin had some things to say, saying, quote, "When this opportunity came to me, the idea of not doing a remake or a reboot, but doing a trilogy based on the original film, I thought it was an incredible opportunity." Um, he also notes that the first film, The Strangers Chapter 1, is similar to the original 2008 film, while the sequels will be blazing a new path. The sequels being called, of course, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. The Strangers, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Also says, quote, "Explore what happens to the victims of this kind of violence and who the perpetrators are of this kind of violence. Where are they coming from and why?" End quote. Be careful. People don't like it when you explore the why that characters do things. Just look at Rob Zombie's Halloween and the people having problems with that because they explain the why. But I mean, the first Strangers film, worldly loved. The second one I didn't think was all that bad either. I think it's called Pray at Night. So yeah, cool. I'm into it. I can't wait to check it out and see how things end up going. First, I think it's weird to tell. It says the Strangers trilogy is set to be released sometime next year, so it seems like all three will be released next year, kind of like they did with Fear Street. They released all three of those movies in 1 year, a couple weeks apart. I think it was I think it was a week apart or something like that. So yeah, check those out. Maybe we are getting all three next year. That's interesting. But cool. Good on them. You want to check out those images? They are out now through Entertainment Weekly. And last thing I have here on the news circuit is I talked about last week how Friday the 13th, I also mentioned in this episode, has an energy drink from G Fuel, and they have also done an energy drink now for Nightmare on Elm Street. So if you want to get your energy like a horror slasher icon, you've got some new offerings there with Nightmare on Elm Street as well as Friday the 13th recently. I think they did a Chucky one as well. Could very well be wrong, but believe that they did. They did. So there is a Chucky Good Guys one. There is the Hack and Slash, which is Friday the 13th, and there is Dream Demon, which is the Nightmare on Elm Street one that we were just talking about here. Releases on October 17th. So that is next week. So there you go, man. Check those out. Enjoy them. Have some fun with them. They are energy drinks. I will gladly get those, especially the Chucky one. But yeah, there you go, man. I think that is it. Is there anything else that has happened since I started recording this show? Oh, and going back to the Exorcist Believer real quick, two things to touch on. Not a credit scene, so don't worry about that. And story-wise, it made me tear up, at points during the movie. No lie, do not kid at all. So yeah, that's my, feelings on the Exorcist Believer as I touch on those again. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything news-wise that has hit since I started recording. Just check one more thing. No, it's mostly just box office stuff and all that. So, obviously, Exorcist Believer is number one at the box office. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So, wait, hang on, what was that? Nope. Yeah, no, nothing there. All right, cool. That's gonna be it for this episode. That's how the show rolls, man. I am not a perfectionist. I just do the show and just keep it as real can be. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Hope you go see The Exorcist Believer. Hope I helped you out with that. appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show as always. If you do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated, as this will help get the show out to other people to check out and maybe help them see some movies and all that stuff. But I do love doing this show and appreciate you taking the time, and I like to leave every episode with this. So again, thank you very much for joining in to the Review It Rob show. Remember that happiness can always be found even in the darkest times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.